Good day, my friends, and welcome to Unity Through Past Traumas. What you can't do alone, we can do together by sharing our life stories. On today's episode, I have on Dustin Adams, who resides in my hometown, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Welcome, Dustin.
Hey, how's it going, Jeff?
Yeah, awesome today because finally we get to do a podcast together. And for people who don't know, me and Dustin met at the gym not even that long ago. And it was, I'd like to say it was an instant connection as soon as we met with you and I.
I'd say that too, man.
Huh? Yes. So before we get started, I'll share a little bit about yourself. Dustin turned all of his past traumas into motives to help himself in becoming a better person. As he realized later in life, people should not be treated as he was as a child. He was a survivor through many hard challenges in life, as something inside of him kept himself pushing through to be better than what he knew. Today, Dustin is thriving in life with an abundance of love, peace, and joy. He is a spiritual warrior with wanting to give back and helping to fire people up and finding light within themselves. Dustin says, if he can do it, anyone can. Yes, that's awesome. Right. That's awesome, man. So with being a spiritual warrior in life, with spirituality, what does that mean for you?
Well, it means to me that, everyone is a spiritual warrior, right? It means to me that, no matter how many of the battles you're going to have, you always got to come back with that warrior mentality, because you will always lose some and you will win some. But when you do lose, you don't let that step hold you back. And then you kind of just keep moving forward if you have that warrior mentality, because say you're going to recognize how you couldn't get through that one time.
Yeah.
And then you're going to come back with something different. You're going to come back with a different technique or anything like that. And that's really just what that means with me.
Okay. Learning, growing, and evolving.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And then what about spirituality with where you're at today? Before we get into the meat and potatoes of our past lives, or life, I should say this one, where are you at today with your spirituality? And what does that mean for you?
Well, where I'm at today is just, I'm happy with who I am, right? I kind of realized, all these beliefs and ideas of who I thought I wasn't who I really was. My spirituality is I've really kind of amped it up a bit, because I don't really even know, just pushing myself forward to feeling this happiness that I felt, that I've never really felt before.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then with the practices that I've been attempting, I've been doing a lot of reading. I've been, pushing myself and getting out of my comfort zone for the growth, right? Because that ego always keeps you back in the same thing that you're so used to. What else could I say? Just, just being happy with where I'm at right now.
Yes. And what about being, you said that you're in training for being a shaman. What's that all about?
Well, somewhat of a practice, just realizing that you're one with everything. Being, bringing, what a shaman does is all they do is bring balance in a place that has unbalance. So, making you realize that there is something greater than really what your egoic self claims you are. Mm-hmm. And that's your spirit. And then, that's all I have, because I'm still fairly new with the shaman practices, right? And, I just started doing my journeys and finding my power animals, and all it is meditation with intent. Yeah. And when you have the right intent, you can access a lot of things.
Yeah. And isn't it a beautiful thing with where we're at today, learning and growing, within ourselves?
It's a new world every day. Every time you blink, every time you look at something, it's always a new world. There's always something to learn, as long as you keep an open mind. There's so much potential for, you name it, right? Like whatever it is, as long as you believe you can do it, you can do it.
Yeah. And like you said, you want to light people up. And then speaking of the light and finding the light in our life that we have today, to overcome the serious trauma on whatever that means for you that you've had in your life. We've had to live through some serious darkness in our life to be able to find the light that we emerge ourselves into today, to live this great life with wanting to give back, to help others who are suffering, today. So I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your life story with what you're going to be doing here now, because of the impact it will make in someone's life today who will watch or hear this podcast. So if you want to, I guess, the easiest thing is to start off with your childhood, what it was like for you at the beginning stages of where the trauma started for you.
Well, when I was growing up as a young kid, I was in a household, a broken family, right? I had my mom. She was there. That the only reason she was there is because she had to be, because I wouldn't want to say maybe she was selfish to have kids and thought it would be all right, but in the end, she realized how hard it was going to be. Um, Grew up without a dad. I had no father. Uh, I don't even know, like there was claims to this one guy that's supposed to be my dad, but in the end, I have family members telling me that they don't believe that he is was my father, right? But he was never around. There was no role models, nothing. I was always looked at as, being an abandoned kid. Like I had no love growing up. I was all negativity. There was never, all I can remember is bad, right? Like abandonment, always being told I was never wanted, or I was always what do I want to say? Like I don't really know. This is kind of tough to bring it up because it's still issues that you got to deal with, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I had a sister, but she was the prized possession, right? She got all the attention. I was always the bad kid, right? Everything is, and it always stemmed from just I feel like I was never wanted, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
was being abandoned. Uh, And as growing up like that, I've always was diminished, right? Like I was always beaten down, or told I wasn't good enough, or told you this and that. And my mom had boyfriends in and out. They never treated me well. I was just some stupid kid. So I grew up with that mentality of not having any attention as a kid. So I would look for attention as I started growing up into my teen years. I would look for attention by all the wrong ways, but it made me feel good,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So if I was hurting other kids or bullying other kids or getting in trouble, this and that, that was some form of attention that I was getting, and it made me feel good. And it carried on because that's all I knew, and that was the only attention I would get.
Mm-hmm. The form of
So
did you like acting out as far as like bullying?
yeah, I was horrible, man. Like I've do a lot of practice now with sending out that forgiveness, where
Yeah.
I haven't reached out to a lot. I have reached out to people, but I just kind of do it with myself and send that energy out of forgiveness, because there was a lot of people that I treated horribly, because that's all I ever knew, right? The way I reacted to people, the way I was always had these boundaries or these walls set up that no one could hurt me as long as I hurt them.
Mm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I grew up like that, right? And
Yeah.
it got me into trouble, it got me nowhere, and you just, like bad karma kept coming around, and life was never, well, I wasn't gonna say never easy, but like it was, because life isn't easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was always so tough. I always had these situations where I always be getting knocked down or this and that, and then it just kind of spiraled out into effect as I got older.
Yeah. When when you talk about your childhood and being at home, not feeling any love, there was verbal abuse at
Yes.
home from that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's verbal abuse. Just like I said, always, how do you think a kid feels when he's told he's not wanted or anything like this, right? Ever, or
Mm-hmm.
just the love was never there. I was always told go to my room, or do that, just always pushed off to the side because someone else had their life to live, and I was this innocent child that, like, well, who wants to help me, right?
And you felt that at an early age, yeah, as far
Yeah.
back as you can remember. That's what it's always been like for you or for your
Yeah,
past.
it was, I was broken home, man. I moved around. I could name the 10 from elementary school up until junior high, up until high school. I lived in about 8, 9 different places,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every other year we were moving around, right? Coming home to no power on or this and that, like, and then the mother that was never there.
Yeah.
And then when she would come there or something like that, she'd buy us something to kind of mask the way, buy us something and tell us to go play with a toy in the room,
Mm.
right? There was no connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's growing up. It was tough, right? And then it kind of spiraled to me to acting out, and then I went right. I had to live on my own. I had to get on my own. I had no one to teach me the right from the wrong or
Yeah.
any of that. So I kind of always chose what I thought was right, and it chose that life of getting into drugs and
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah. So then, um, being at home with that, was there any form, do you feel, of addictions on your mom's end as well that contributed, to the verbal abuse towards you, or?
No, as I could say, she didn't have no drug addiction. She didn't drink, but she had a spending habit, right?
Mm,
She would get money or this and that, and she would spend, and so her priorities weren't set up, right? She would spend money on herself, or buy us all these extravagant toys, but push us off to the side, right? Kids don't need all those toys and this and that, right? They need that love,
love. Yeah. Yeah.
right? They need that love to make them feel whole, right? Because I
Yeah.
was empty as a child, right? I always looked for it other places. I would hang out at friends' houses until the bitter end. I hated going home.
Yeah.
I'd be out riding my bike. All friends would go home. I'd be riding my bike till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I'm in grade fucking 6. Oops,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have used my hand, right?
Well, yeah, I'll make
Right?
this one rated R.
Yeah,
that's,
yeah. So
that's, I don't care. Yeah. Yeah, but so going to school as a young boy like you, not feeling any love, having the verbal abuse, we've talked lots in the past, and you and I have very similar life path that we've lived. As far as the hurt and pain and what we've done with addictions, and just to where we're at today. But going to school and the feelings and emotions you had as a young boy in elementary school, when did you start, when do you remember starting to act out, picking on other people, using that energy that you had from home with that hurt and pain and starting to push
oh,
it towards others?
I was young, man. I remember I was kicked out of daycares all the time. When I was like 6 years old, 7 years old, I was beating up kids, hitting kids when I was that old, man. And then it stemmed up all through elementary. Like, I remember to this day, like from in grade 3 and 4, I was running away from school. I was bullying kids. I was looking every which way to get attention.
Yeah.
So like it stemmed from very young and all through junior high and high school. I was that kid that beat people up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds bad, but I was always picking fights. I was always, like picking on innocent people to make myself feel better because I was always picked on as a kid,
Yeah. Well, I
right?
think, I got goosebumps all over right now, because the realization to have you on and share that you were a bully, because I was the other one, you would have been picking on me, because that's how I
Yeah.
grew up. I grew up being picked on. So I think it's absolutely amazing for you to be even sharing that, because to admit that you were a bully, but to share your story on how you suffered at home, it's so powerful to even realize that, because a lot of people don't realize that bullies in schools right now, for the most part, something is going on behind the scenes that are causing them to be that way.
Yeah,
And
so
not
true.
having any love like you did at home, and the verbal abuse you went through, what choice did you really have as a child to act out any different?
And that's all I knew, right? Like someone talked to me the wrong way, like if for instance, it stems like you said, right? If someone would say yell at you the wrong way, it'd bring up that energy or that emotion that you've had from home,
Yeah.
and it pisses you off, but you can't do something at home,
Yeah.
but you could do something here,
Yeah.
right? To release it and make yourself feel better because
Yeah.
you got that wall up and say no one talks to me like that
Yeah.
or something like that. It sucks for me to have that at such a young age, right? Like I
Yeah.
was way too young to be doing that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? And it was just stemmed from the verbal abuse of neglect, right? And then looking for all the wrong attention. And then
Yeah.
when I got the attention, I was in the office, I thought I was cool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that
Well,
mentality that I had, I thought I was cool. I was getting in trouble. I was thinking, oh yeah, nothing can harm, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
it
So
just stemmed up until junior high.
yeah, And looking back at the times when you were picking on other people because of what you were going through at home, how was that making you feel at the time when you were picking on other people?
For what it made me feel good.
Yeah.
It made me, honestly, it made me feel good, right? And because maybe I could, what made me feel good was that all the hurt that I was receiving, I was doing to someone else, and they're feeling the same way I felt,
Mm,
right? And that's not right. It, I wish I would have realized that a long time
that's
ago.
okay. It's a part of our path and journey. There's a lot of times we can look back and wish we would have done things differently, but we wouldn't have the compassion we do today to be able to give back if we didn't go through those situations, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So, and then, as you were turning into a teenager, going through school, it was still the same for you, picking on people even in high school and whatnot,
Yeah,
getting in
I
trouble.
kind of junior high kind of was all better, right? I was a popular kid always, right? Like
Hmm.
I never wasn't the not popular one. I guess I don't know how to say it. Like maybe I'm not
Yeah.
trying to brag or anything like that, but I
Yeah.
always had friends. I had a
Yeah.
good, decent group of friends that I didn't pick on, but there would be the other ones that I did, right? And then stemmed in junior high, up in grade 8 and 9. I would just I pick on people to make myself feel good because
Yeah.
I'd be jealous of something they have or just just something about them. I don't know, just maybe they're too happy or something for me and I wasn't, right.
Yeah.
And then it started stemming from grade junior high is when I was in grade 7 and I started smoking weed.
Yeah.
I started
Okay.
hanging out late at night, hanging around with certain people, maybe the wrong people, hanging around West Edmonton Mall, like
Yeah.
like being one of those kids in that grade, and I'm only, I don't know how you're 12 years old, grade
12-ish.
7, I
Yeah.
think, something like
Yeah.
that,
So that's when
right?
you first started using drugs. Was that the first time?
Yeah, I was grade 7, man. I was grade 7 smoking weed. I didn't smoke cigarettes until later, but
Yeah.
was smoking weed and drinking.
Yeah.
And, and that was my release. And it made me feel good because that's what released all the emotions that I didn't
Yes.
deal with, right? So
Yeah.
I would just forget about it. So all of a sudden that became more of a habit than just, I don't want to say like, what is it? It became more of a habit, right? Because I would love it because I would forget about the troubled past or troubled life that I was living and just enjoying the moment with the drugs and
Yes.
alcohol,
Yeah. And
right?
that, the same as me. I remember being probably around 14, I think, or 15, whenever it was, trying smoking weed. And that was the first time in my life, I didn't feel any of the pain and suffering that I had ever since childhood, right? We had that way to escape. Like finally we could relax, right? From those emotions. We didn't know how to process those emotions at that time, right?
Yeah, and yeah, of course, man. Like it just, and there was is an awesome escape, and that's where
Yeah.
my addiction started stemming out, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where I believe it all started from that.
Yeah.
Was I used it as an escape, and every time I could get the chance to do it, I would do it.
Yeah. And then, leading from that into your life, we had talked 14 years old, getting into the drug world at a young age at 12. And then by the 14, getting into the harder drugs, selling the harder drugs. How did you get into that?
Well, it's came as a grade 8. After grade 7, it was kind of getting into grade 8, and I like to smoke weed. I didn't want to. I knew people that smoked weed and all this and that, and I
Yeah.
didn't want to. I didn't want to get a job. I was never taught the proper way to go get a job and this and that. I was always watching these shows and this and that, and I thought drug dealing would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thought that was
Yeah.
the way to go, man. So I got involved with that in grade 8. I started selling weed to support a habit that I had because also
Yeah.
you sell a little bit and you support your habit and I'm making a little bit of money too. So now I don't have to work.
Yeah.
Right. And then I had that mentality, right? And then that kind of built up on my ego too, from stemming from me being an angry person in the first place. Now I got this angry person, and then I got people wanting something from me, right? And it just put me more and more up on this pedestal that I thought I was the man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then it came up to about, and I was young, right? And then from grade 8 up until grade 9, like I enjoyed going to school just because I had friends
Mm-hmm.
and this and that. Like me, I graduated and all this and that. I never dropped out of school because of all this, but I enjoyed going there because of friends. And then I got into the weed, and then the guy that I was getting the weed from, all of a sudden he said, "Hey, you want to try some? You know, you can make some more money doing this, right?" And then he kind of helped me out. And by the time grade 9, I was selling coke and crack, and I was, I was partying like I was a 21 year old
Yeah.
when I was 14 years old. Right? I was
Wow.
living on my own.
Yeah.
In well, about grade 11, grade 10, I started to pretty much be living on my own,
Yeah.
right? But I was never ever at home. Like I was always gone. Other people, I'd stay at people's houses and this and that. But I got involved with that still while going to school, still getting in trouble at school and this and that.
Yeah.
And I just had no one to show me the right from the wrong.
Yeah.
And I just went down a path for quite some years, like just thought this is the way it's going to be for me.
Yeah. Was it like a form of a gang or what when you were
No,
when you're
it's just a group of friends that we
selling
like to
that?
smoke weed. Yeah, we like to smoke weed together, and we thought we were cool.
Okay.
You're in grade 9, and you can call yourself a little crack dealer when you're in grade 10 and 9. You think you're pretty cool, man. Well,
Yeah.
at least I did.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So then how did what was your transformation to start to get away from that life?
You know what? I got busted. Um,
Okay.
I was What really got me away from that life was I was end of grade 12. Um, I was all on my high horse around the time of that, and thinking, "Oh man, can't wait till I get older and see what's going on." But then I got busted, and I had the cops raid my house, my
Mm,
apartment, and they kicked in my door, and I don't know, I got scared. It was pretty scary, man, because at first I thought I was getting robbed and someone was gonna come and hurt me. So that kind of scared me, but in the end, it was the cops that
mm-hmm.
it's like you see on TV, right? I was 17 years old, and you see on TV like when cops raid a house with the big
Yeah.
thing, and they knock your door open,
Yeah.
and 15 of them run in your house, rip you out of your bed, and
Yeah.
handcuff you, and So that right there was when I kind of got out of it for a bit. Kind of scared me straight. I kind of realized like, okay, I need to change something.
Yeah.
Something in my life needs to change. This isn't right. But I was so used to that lifestyle that I had to go to court and I had curfew. I was 18. When I turned 18 years old, I had a curfew for a year and a half. I had to be at home at 9 o'clock every night.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really kind of straightened me out a bit for a while because, I kind of realized like, okay, this isn't, it didn't work for me. I didn't really try to get back into it for a while, right? Well, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
plan to get back into it. And then it just kind of, I got a legit job at this place, and I didn't, working much money and you're making pennies,
Yeah.
and that didn't kind of go so well. But that's when when I got busted was when I kind of realized like I need to change something, but it was little changes that I need to make. I didn't make all these dramatic changes that I really need to for the future. I just kind of made certain changes of who I was hanging out with, kind of what I was doing, what road I was taking,
Yeah.
and yeah, so that's when I got busted. That was kind of an eye opener.
Yeah.
And then, that's at 18 years old. I had to deal with curfew, going in and out of courthouse, and I shouldn't have been living like that when I was 18. If I had some proper upbringing when I was a kid,
Yeah.
like I was up in the courts, and I was still drinking, doing all this kind of stuff. I was in and out of the court system, right? I had court almost every other friggin' month,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, and I was 18, and I found a job where I did start working, and I ended up working there for 6 years, from 18 till I was like 24. But the job it got me kind of on the straight path. But then, I still kind of knew some people that I could, maybe hook up with or something like that. That would, in the end, I still always kind of still had the friends and this and that were involved in that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So after that, I did dealing with all the courts, and then drinking was a problem of mine because it was escape. Because think about all the trauma of going to court, and you went from having all this stuff. Now I can't even go out of my house and I had to be at home at 9. They're checking on me. Like
Yeah.
that put me in a big depression. Right? It brought me right down to realize like, holy, like something like this isn't good.
Yeah. And you still have all that stored energy of emotions from childhood
Mm-hmm.
still a part of you that you haven't dealt with yet.
Yes.
So, I would think stopping the drugs and slowing down on the drinking, going to court, having to do all that stuff, all those emotions and feelings, now you're having to deal with that. And that's where where I'm thinking maybe the depression set in more so for you.
Yeah, it did then, right? But then I still drank, right? I would still drink whenever I can get my hands on it.
Okay, you're
I
okay.
would still drink.
Yeah.
And then when I was 19 years old, I got a DUI, right? I got a DUI, and then that put me down in another hole because now I couldn't drive. Now
Yeah.
I couldn't do this, and I just kept falling down the hill, right? And then, and then things changed a bit. And then after I kind of hit rock bottom, I started climbing back up and changed my life for a bit. I kind of I slowed down on the drinking.
Yeah.
I'd do it on the weekends here and there. And I would, yeah, I slowed down and, because I had to deal with court again. But this
Yeah.
time was for another situation where I kept going into court and having to
Yeah.
deal with that. And I changed my, kind of started looking up there. But then I needed money, right? Because it became expensive.
Yeah.
And then I had an opportunity to kind of get back into the game. That's how you want to call it.
Yeah.
Opportunity to get back in there, and I took it and I ran with it. While I was working at this job, I worked night shift. So all that whole lifestyle kind of came back, and it was under the radar again. And
Yeah.
I was still working that legit job, and then doing this other stuff on the side, right? And now by then I was 20 years old. 20, yeah, I was 20, and I was doing that and hanging out, and because then things started looking up for me. But it was all the old way that I was living, right? But it
Yeah.
was back to me having money again. It was
Mm.
back to me partying again. It was back to people be like, oh yeah, always, the people attracting the wrong crowd, right?
Well, they're just the
And
same. People
sorry.
who are hurt. I said they're just the same. People that are hurting,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And
Yeah.
yeah, keep going. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
And then so I went from there, and then I was back, and I lived there for about 2.5 years, about that.
Yeah.
Where I was doing it, I was partying back to normal. I developed a severe cocaine habit
Mm-hmm.
from this drinking and partying, where I'd be partying, I'd be up 3 days in a row, but it didn't matter to me. I didn't look at it as a problem. I was still making money. I still had money. I still lived in my house.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize what I was doing to myself.
Yeah.
Right? I was so clouded on my perception of how life should be that I was wearing this mask the whole time.
Yeah.
And I'd mask everything, and it got so bad to the points where when the littlest things would trigger something, I'm this my shadow, right? I'd throw all my emotions into my shadow,
Yeah.
right? I wouldn't deal with them. I'd throw them in, and then the littlest thing, someone would do something wrong, someone would irritate me, and all of a sudden that whole bag of shadows come over me, and I'm this totally different person. Right? Either is this fighting with someone, or just treating someone like shit, or just to make myself feel better for the life that I was living.
Yeah.
I was always had a mask on. Everyone looked like I was if you would have seen me back in the day, you would have looked like I'm a happy person,
Mm-hmm.
right? I would always play it out that I was, but when I was alone, I was miserable,
Yeah.
right? I would always have people around me all the time because I hated being alone.
Yeah. And
And
then
yeah,
that's when the same club that you and me are part of as well. It's not the best club that we want to be happy that we went through it, but it's those suicide attempts. When did those suicide attempts for you
they came.
start?
Yeah, when they started, they came when I was about 23 years old. Because, like I said, I hated being alone, right?
Yeah.
Um, when people would leave, I would drink, and I just hated being alone. I had I depended on the cocaine, where it's like getting psychosis, right? I wouldn't sleep for 3 days. I'd stay up drink and do drugs for 3 days.
Yeah.
Party. I'd be doing it by myself and stuff like that, just to keep myself from going into that depression state. Because when you come out of it and you're coming down off all that stuff,
Yeah.
that's like it's the worst.
Yeah.
So that came into play when I was about from 22 to 23, and it happened for about like a 6 month period where I just, I tried a couple things and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
I did, I tried it 5 times, and I'm glad glad it didn't work. That's the that's the thing about it now, right? But that's
Yes.
these challenges I had to go through and the things I had to endure to realize like like you can live a better life
Yeah.
from what you thought your life was,
Yeah.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, that those came in from when I was about 24, 23, and yeah, and then ever since then I kind of once I really had that, and then I suffered from sleep paralysis too, where I
Mm.
was scared to go to sleep because I didn't know what the heck this was. Like, and I went to doctors and they looked at me like I was just a drug addict. Like they didn't know what was
Mm-hmm.
going on, and I was scared to go to sleep. I didn't know like what was happening, and and then the depression, and then the lack of sleep, like that builds up,
Yeah.
right? And then the one time I just had an awakening, and honestly, the last time I had that dream with that sleep paralysis there, I woke up and then I said to myself, I was like, something needs to change. And I was 24 years old, and something needs to change. I packed up everything, I packed up my whole house I lived in. I went and I stayed with my grandma that was way out in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Figured out some things. I pretty much ran away from everything and for a month, and had to reassess what I needed to do and really look at my life. I quit the job that I had. I wasn't selling drugs anymore. I had nothing. And I had absolutely nothing. Where, and then you know what, and that made me realize like I need to start fresh. I need to start doing something different. And from then on, from 24 up until now, I've been battling. I quit drinking as I'm 4 years sober now.
Yeah.
I don't do any drugs. 4 years sober of doing cocaine or anything. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke weed. I don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's been the last 6, 7 years I've been shedding off all these layers of who I really thought I was
Yes.
to becoming this new person that I am today.
Yes.
And if I look at it, it's like I'm like a 6-year-old, but a little bit smarter. And it's a whole new beginning right here,
Yes.
right? I can live the next half of my life with positivity
Yeah.
and love and happiness.
And giving back
And
like
yeah,
you're
and giving
doing.
back, and helping people, like, you feel, I see some people I talk to now, they're beating themselves up for something that's so little,
Yeah.
right? Like I explain my story to some people and they're like, oh, okay, well, shoot, I shouldn't be, really beating myself up for this and that. And I was like, you can just look at things a little bit differently, right?
Yeah.
And it took me 25 years, or, and if I will go from a kid from growing up to realizing 25 years, it was hard to change.
Yeah.
And, but like in the beginning of this thing, when we said you're a spiritual warrior, there's something that I was always fighting these battles, and now I'm starting to win more than I'm losing.
Yeah. Yes. Because
Right?
as long as we keep trying and never giving up,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't win. And, like you said, I know for myself, it took from the time I started, actually, I'll be 42 in like not even a week. Yeah. And
That age is funny, yeah.
I know, I feel like I'm 25 physically, mentally. I feel like amazing that I am my age, maturity wise, but energy, I feel absolutely amazing. But my journey for myself as well, it took 10 years basically from the time I did treatment. And like you said, it was a lot of layers to be where I'm at today, of peeling off with a lot of work to get here. And there were sometimes I didn't win the battles that I had to go through, but it was picking ourselves up and trying again until we finally got here. And with where you're at today as well, having your, I know when we spoke before, talking about boundaries with people, such as family members that we have, how important, is it for you to start where you've learned to have boundaries with people in your life, including family?
Well, it's the main thing to keep yourself happy. Like you got to set these boundaries up because if you keep trying this negative and trying to change the way that person is and you think the way you think they should be, it's just going to create unhappiness for you.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to have these boundaries because if you feel like you go with someone or you go meet up with someone and they drain you totally, like you're like, oh, you feel exhausted, right? You can ask yourself if you feel exhausted, I feel exhausted for hanging out with that person. Maybe next time you're going to set up a boundary with them and just kind of be more lenient on how much time you spend with them,
Yeah.
maybe,
As
right?
far as
And then
family.
me, yeah, with family like me, I don't have a relationship with my mom at all.
Okay.
She tries to come back, but she's still the same person she was when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
she's not doing anything to help herself. But I can't be judgmental on her for that because that's the way she is, and that's honestly that's all she knows. That's how she was brought up in a bad situation too.
Hmm.
But now that I'm learning to be happy and all that, I can't have that emotional pain that I've spent my whole life trying to run away from and trying to deal with, right?
Yeah.
So I set up boundaries where, okay, she's gonna live her life and I'm gonna live my life, right? Because it always seems like now she always wants something, or just, it's always she wants something from me, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know how to say it, but like I don't have nothing to give to you, right? And you can't hold on to resentment, and that's something I'm
Good.
dealing with right now is I can't
Okay.
hold on to that resentment.
Yeah.
I'm trying all these things to try to forgive the way the way she is, but it's tough, right? Like
Yeah.
I have years of scars that I'm still trying to put band-aids on, and those trying to
Yes.
keep them
It's
from getting ripped off again. So that's where the boundaries come in, right? I get the band-aid on and I'm feeling great. It's starting to heal.
yeah.
But the minute that boundary comes down, that band-aid's ripped right off again, and now I'm back to square one.
Yeah. So, looking back at your life now, having to find forgiveness to release that energy, have you done that with yourself as far as being able to forgive those who hurt you in the past to help to be where you're at today?
Yeah, I've forgiven everyone because I just realized that that is the way they are, and I can't change
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
right? And once you start to realize that you can't change someone for your perception of how they should be, and it's a lot easier to surrender and to forgive because that is the way they are. And
Yeah.
if they want help, they'll seek it. I
Yeah.
can't try to force it. So
And you
yeah,
are, what you just said too stood out to me is that you've come to the realization, when we look at people who hurt us, they went through some trauma as well. And unfortunately, they never got the help that they needed, at least yet, because anytime it's still possible for them, they just have to reach a point in their life on their life path. But it's having the realization to be able to forgive others who hurt us because they have went through trauma that they haven't received any help for yet. Right?
yeah, it's like I always say, right? It's like they live their own world, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna always be a second character in their world, no matter what you try, say, or do. Your opinions may resonate with you, but when you try to push your opinion on someone else, they might take it personally and get offended from this because their ego is so so we're like their ego is so strong on their beliefs that this is the way my life is that they're not
Yeah.
willing to change. It's like that old
Yeah.
saying. It has a lot of meanings. You can't teach an old dog new tricks,
Yeah.
but you can if you try hard enough, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yes,
But that
exactly.
dog needs to want to learn it too.
Yeah. And now looking back, with where you're at today, the hurt and pain you went through as a child, going to school, putting that energy of hurt and pain on, to others to try to find some way to feel better in your life, and the drugs and the court, going through all that stuff that you've been through to where you're at today. What things happened in your life, or what things happened in your life, in the last year or two to really transform your life to who you are today?
It's just having a support system of my fiance Randy. I have a huge support system with her. She was there, and she was always the one that kind of showed me these things, and a lot of it had to do with just me wanting to change the way I was. Because once I quit drinking when I was 26, no, yeah, 26, yeah, when I was 26 and I quit drinking, you know, I had to start dealing with all these emotions,
Mm.
right? And I didn't know how to deal it because it was overwhelming. Because I was like, why am I feeling like this? Like, what is this? This is
Yeah.
different, right? I don't know what this is. I've never felt this before, like, and this anxiety and this fear and all this stuff. I was like, I never felt this before because you'd mask it on the weekends when I drank and
Yeah.
work all week, drink again, and I wouldn't have to deal with it. So yeah, when I quit drinking, that's kind of started more peeling off layers. And then I started dealing with this because I was like, why do I feel like this? I started questioning and thinking, and then I didn't know where to turn for that, right? Because I always still had that ego, like, oh, I'm good. I don't need counseling. Oh, counseling, this and that, right? But then I did an 8-act program. I did a 12-week 8-act program, and I was like, wow. I was like talking to people with the same problems as me
Mm-hmm.
and the same issues as me. I could relate to them, and they're not judging me. It was like the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
And then when I got that feeling, it was like, you know what? If I can explain my story and help people out, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And then I started reading books and just, and self help books. Like when you try to tell someone, oh, you should read one of these self help books, everyone hears that word self help. And then they're like, well, maybe I don't need self help. Well, maybe you could change that word into having just a tool to help you
Yeah.
live a better life or a happier
Yeah.
life, not a better life, a happier life. Because
Yes.
your life
Yeah.
is great the way it is right now, as long as you
Yeah.
can think that and believe that.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, and just a lot of reading and pushing myself out of my comfort zone. Right. Before I was one of those
Mm.
guys, I didn't read a book for 26 or no 28 years. I didn't read a book until I started reading a book. And now in the last 2 years, I've read, I don't know, like 10, 12 books. And then
Yeah.
I've read 8 of them twice.
Self-help books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Years, man. All
Yeah.
self-help books, because it's
Yes.
not,
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, I need all this help. It's like if you could
Yeah.
just go into it with an open mind, all of a sudden
Yeah.
you read a couple pages and you're like, I'm kind of, that's kind of how I'm thinking or how I'm reacting, and maybe that's why I'm angry all the time, or why I'm creating all this anxiety over nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like even for me today, before coming onto this podcast, right? Like I had to, because this is something I've never done before.
Yeah.
And then I stopped. I didn't chase those thoughts, but before I would chase them and be all nervous to the point where
Yes.
maybe I wouldn't have even have done this,
Yeah.
right? But these tools with these books, like they help me quite a bit to look at things differently, because it always helps with when a third party tells you, or not tells you, like explains something to you, right? Like because most people will do like I did, would push my emotions away and learn to work around them. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't deal with them. I just learned to work around them, right? And then once they can then, like I said, throwing them in your shadow,
Yeah.
right? And then you working around your emotion, and then something triggers one of these emotions that's been building up, like how many times you've suppressed it, and all of a sudden it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're reacting, and then you got all this guilt that you react in a way that you wouldn't really normally react if you would have dealt with that emotion a long time ago,
Yeah.
right? You would react differently, and then all of a sudden you created all this problem for you, and now you're beating yourself up for, why did I react like this? Oh, I shouldn't have did this, or I shouldn't have did that. But that's just all from you creating something in your head by
So
not dealing with an emotion.
how do you handle your anxiety now to find peace with it?
You know
What
what?
do you
It's
do?
honestly, it's I read. I put on some calming music. I read. I listen to motivational speeches. You let someone up talk you for 20 minutes, man, you can feel good, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can listen to someone telling that you can be this, you can do that, and positive affirmations, and just putting that into your subconscious that you are more than what you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since I quit weed, which was I quit that, it's only been like 3 months, because I thought that helped me.
Yeah.
But I quit weed. My anxiety is gone from way up here to like down here now. It's where it's almost not even here. There's little bits of hinkerings, like where, like today with the nerve. I wouldn't even say it was anxiety about today. It would be nervousness.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then when I started feeling that emotion, nervousness, now I change it to say, if I feel nervous, I change that nervous word into excitement, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So I'm changing words, and then,
Yes.
I'll catch myself to be like, oh, I'm nervous about this. Well, wait, no, I'm excited about this. And then you tell that, and then all of a sudden that nervousness kind of goes down.
It sounds like you've become more aware of your feelings and emotions on what they truly are inside of you.
Yeah,
It's not, yeah.
I started acknowledging them. When all of a sudden, when something makes me mad, I start questioning. It's like, well, what is it to have to do with this? Why am I feeling like this? I start because everyone talks to themselves, so I talk to myself. I up talk it. It's like I'm my own psychiatrist. What's that word? Psychiatrist
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
in my head, right? So it's like when I feel like I'm gonna chase a thought or run off, no, sit back. Why would you want to go do that? Why would you do this?
Yeah.
I could be doing it right now.
Yeah. And
Because everybody
grounding,
talks to themselves.
grounding ourselves too.
Grounding
Right.
too. That's I'm working on too.
Okay.
I've reached out to Reiki healers and this and that,
Yeah.
other people, a shaman practitioner, right, like Brian,
Yeah.
and yeah, just reaching out and hearing from someone else is always I always found works for me because
Yeah.
you have that ego that's like but really you don't know that it's really your ego talking because it's really you think what you are,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
stillness that you have is really who you are. Like what's driving you, what gets me and you up every morning, it's the exact same, right? The only difference we have is our mind,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So
So when you did that 12-week program in AA, did you do that 12-step program?
yeah,
Do you feel that was the beginning of your spiritual awakening or close to around for doing that 12-step program?
yeah, it kind of was because it made me realize, it made me feel good. Something, I've always been fascinated with the spirituality ever since I was a kid. I
Okay.
just never knew how to assess it, maybe.
Yeah.
And I've always been fascinated with the astrology and your horoscopes. Like I remember when I was 13 years old, I'd read horoscopes every day.
Mm-hmm.
I read my horoscope every day just to give me an insight on maybe something that how I could, maybe help me out some days, help me out not. But my really spiritual awakening honestly happened. I don't know, man. Like it probably honestly
So,
happened. Like I really feel like when I started reading those books and kind of realizing like, whoa, I'm actually thinking all in the wrong way, and that was only about a year ago.
okay.
And then I'm the type of guy like gimme. I just want to learn it all, and I just dove in head first into it,
Yeah.
and I got to experience it a little bit. Like I dipped my toe into the spiritual world, if you want to say,
Yeah.
and it felt amazing.
Yeah.
And then I just haven't looked back since then.
What's the biggest thing when you say it felt amazing? What stands out for you that feels so amazing once you dip your toe in spirituality?
Just being happy for who I am. Honestly, like just honestly being happy for maybe the things that happened in my life. I was happy for it. I'm grateful for the things that happened in my life, and
Mm.
yeah, like when the spirituality, just being a happy person from what I was. I don't know
Just
how else to
truly,
put it.
yeah, no, it's, finding gratitude. When I've had other guests come on and they've been through some serious stuff as well. We all have on our levels. And we always come back to finding gratitude for the things we've been through because it's shaped us and got us to where we are today. And we love who we are today. Right. And yeah, that's the biggest thing for me that stands out, that I didn't even know what the word gratitude was until I started on my spiritual journey. I'm like, what's gratitude? I never heard it
Yeah,
as much. Now I hear it all the time, just being
yeah,
grateful for the things that we have in our life today and finding that connection to the true being of who we are on the inside of these shells of the body that we live in, and having that connection to who you actually are now. And being shown or guided, I would think, is the best way to put it. Now we're being guided in life. So life has become a bit easier to navigate through our life, right? Or it has
yeah.
been for me.
Well, it's like when you're happy and grateful for the little things, all of a sudden these big things happen, and then you're grateful for those too, right? Like it's the universe
Yeah.
sends you a little bit at a time,
Yeah.
right? Gives you a little bit here, a little bit there, and if you're grateful, and it's just being grateful for where you are today, being grateful for breathing, being grateful for waking up in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And just gratitude and just being happy for where you are in this moment is all you ever need,
Yeah. Living in the
right?
moment.
Yeah, and then
That's all we
and
have.
not projecting for the future, and forget about the past, right? The past made you who you are, but
Yeah.
if you made some mistakes in the past, you gotta just move on because you
Yeah.
already learned from that mistake, and then why bring it up and remember it again?
Exactly.
That's tough. That's tough. I try to tell it. I tell it to people all the time, and I still battle with that.
Yeah. Well, no, but we learned the main thing always in life, when we're going through these things, to be able to forgive ourselves, especially, which is huge as well, that a lot of people can't do, is forgiving ourselves. As long as you learned from those experiences and mistakes that we've made, that's the biggest thing, is that you've learned from it, because we wouldn't make those mistakes again. Right.
hmm Yeah, exactly. And
So,
just loving who you are, right? Like just, no matter what, just, get up in the morning and tell yourself that, I love you. You're great. Your body, you love your body no matter what.
yeah. Let's read a couple
Just,
comments on here.
oh yeah, I did see
Scott
one pop
Baker.
up.
Yeah, no, he said, well done for sharing your experiences. And
Yeah, no, thank you.
Scott's all the way over in Scotland. Craig says hello. He's from Australia.
No,
And
nice,
then
nice.
Jeffrey says, congratulations on being clean for 4 years.
Yeah, and it's gonna keep going. But yeah, and then you know what? Like, I just want everyone to know that they're perfect the way they are, and they gotta
Yes.
stop searching for that idea of perfection, because
Yes.
perfection exists, and everyone's perfect the way you are. You're perfect, Jeff. I'm perfect.
Yeah.
And then when people can really just tell themselves that they're perfect, it's a whole new world, right? Like
Yeah.
you start being happy with yourself. You
Accepting
stop chasing
yourself.
these ideas of something you see on Instagram or Facebook of something. It's just be happy with what you got because you can't change.
Yeah.
Well, like you can't change your body. Well, yeah, I can see. Yeah,
Well,
you can, but I don't know how to say it. You know what I mean, though?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're I don't even know where to go with that. I just said I'm mumbling about something.
No, that's okay. Uh, I was just looking. Boundaries is huge and difficult for years. Learning boundaries took us a long time to start learning boundaries. With people, that exchange of energy between each other. I've only learned in the last 3-4 months all about energy, on how it truly affects us, with needing to have boundaries between each other with the right exchange. Because if people are out there giving, and not getting much back, it's going to drain you. That was the biggest thing
hmm
for me with learning boundaries. Um, there was one other one I seen here, and shoot, I can't see it now. But you know, being where you are today, being able to give back like you're doing, wanting to, training to be a shaman to give back, it's such a beautiful gift to be where we are at today, to be able to want to give back, right? Living this life to start inspiring other people that you can live a better life, um, through the hard times that people are even going through, even today. There's
Yeah, it's
always,
like I just want to run around and try to light everyone's flame, man. Because once that flame gets lit from them, they'll start experiencing something new,
yeah,
right? It's just like people like us. We just need to help them build that fire. We need to help them find the wood that will burn for them,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. And, before we go, what are 2 tips that you can give back to someone who was suffering, that might be suffering in the way that you did as a child? That's still living life today in their teen years or whatever, going through, maybe they're bullying people. Like, what tips can you give back to those who are suffering like you did?
Look at a different road. If there's people are suffering from the way I did, there's look at something different, man. Reach out to maybe someone that's not a family member. Maybe reach out to somebody you know, look for some sort of counseling, maybe a school counselor or something, the stuff that I never did, like I wish I would have. Like
Hmm.
reach out to someone and let, like that one comment said, where they can share their life without someone judging them and having that feel of someone judging them for what their life is.
Hmm.
Right? That
Yeah.
was my biggest fear. I didn't want to tell anyone the way it was. I always, hit it the way it was. And, I'd lie about the way my life was at home because I was embarrassed of it.
Yeah.
So, and just, it's hard, right? You just got to stay positive and, you know, in time and work at it. And you know that what you think you are is really not who you are.
Yeah.
It's
You're
all
just,
beliefs from domestication because all your parents teach you is what they know, right? It's not the way the world is. It's not the way anything is. It's just you were taught what they were taught.
yeah.
That's all they know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you be open minded to new possibilities and be like, no, I'm not like that. I don't want to be like that. But it may be tough, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're going against parents or whatever, right?
Yeah. But it's reaching out to someone, right?
Reaching out
Like
and don't be
counselors.
scared to reach out to someone. Just talk to
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
and there's lots of things out there for youth and anybody, right? Like
Yeah.
the AA they have all over the place, and then there's so many different types of counseling too, right? And maybe some people don't have money, but maybe just search, look
Yeah.
up, like the
There's
internet's got
government.
so much access now,
Yeah.
right?
There'll
Like
be something for
the world
free.
we live in. Yeah, the world we live in, there's so much access to stuff to make yourself, something like a tool to help you to live a more prosperous life, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I just seen a comment here that stood out when I glanced. Why is it easier to forgive others than ourselves? And I just wanted to answer that as well. The biggest thing is realizing that we make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. And knowing you did not have the tools or knowledge at that time when you made those mistakes, but because you have learned, from the mistakes that you have made, you wouldn't make those mistakes again. And we're all here to learn, grow, and evolve. And it's just a part of the process. And when we can really connect with what I just said, to know we come here to learn, grow, and evolve, we make mistakes on every level. It doesn't matter what the mistake is. It's as long as you've learned from it, then that is how, for myself, with how I've been taught, that's how we release that energy to be able to forgive yourself. And I don't know if you had a comment, Dustin.
yeah, well, it just takes work, right? Like maybe you could forgive someone else for what they did, but just you got to really focus on wanting to forgive yourself, right? And accept the way that you are and
Mm-hmm.
forgive your thought or mistake you did. And it's all by repetition. Even if you have to tell yourself, I forgive myself a million times a day, it will resonate with you eventually.
Yeah.
I know I say it all the time. I have to
Yeah.
forgive myself all the time for the way I
Yeah.
acted, and and they'll bring up an old memory, and you got to forgive yourself. It's already happened. Like you
Yeah.
can't do nothing about it.
Yeah.
So
You
I
can
don't know.
learn
It
from
is a
it.
tough one. It is tough. Yeah, you can learn from it, right?
Learn
It's a
from
tough one
it.
to forgive yourself, but
Yeah.
you gotta love yourself, I guess.
Yeah. And that's a lot of work. I only just found
Oh, I
self-love
know.
100% at 42. It
Yeah,
took,
man. I just
it's a,
found it too. Like it kind of just popped in, and ooh, what is this?
yeah.
Yeah,
And it feels
yeah.
good. That's
Yeah,
why
oh,
we
it's
don't
great.
need, to use drugs and self-harm. And, because we found this level of self-love that we don't feel that we need to harm ourselves in any way anymore. Right.
Yeah, it's just love is everywhere. Everyone has it.
If you
It
look
just
for it, you can see
depends.
it.
Yeah, exactly, and you can feel it.
And I definitely can feel it. And that's the biggest thing that I love to do is feel it. So, okay. So thanks again for coming on today and sharing your story. I appreciate it so much. And I know others appreciate it as well. And for the other people that will be watching or listening to it. So thank you.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yeah.
We'll see you at the
So
gym.
that's where we did meet, was at the gym. Yes. So if you have a success story, or wait, no, sorry, please share this podcast, as it may save a life of someone you know, and all just by a click of a button. If you have a success story of past trauma in your life, then please hit me up to come on my show to give back and helping others who may be suffering like you did to know they're not alone. Next week, I'm super excited to have on Mark Campbell, who's going to be sharing about his years with the pain and suffering he went through as a child and teen. Now today, giving back to his community in a huge way. Until next weekend, have a fantastic week, and bye for now.
Adios.